guys. Welcome back to the Walking Narrow podcast, where we are passionate about helping men live intentional lives and becoming the providers, protectors, and leaders that they are called to be. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the pursuits we have as men, the things that we strive for, and give ourselves a benchmark to see how are we doing? Is it something that's going to stand the test of time or not? My family and I, we recently got back from a vacation down to the Ozarks. We spent a week doing some boating and tubing on the lake. We hit an insane amount of go-karts, hit some museums, amusement parks. We had just a wonderful time, and we had really good intentional time together. One of the things that we did, we hit the Wonders of the World Museum and Aquarium at Bass Pro. And if you've been to Bass Pro, you know that they really go all out. They have all these scenes of nature, including the animals and what appears to be their natural habitat, right? And they do a great job with that. The museum and the aquarium is that times 10. It's a really cool experience. There's actually a lot of beautiful exhibits, and I love being outdoors, so this is right up my alley. I like to fish. I like to hunt. I'm equally as bad at both, but it was a fun time for our family. So as you go through the aquarium, the exhibits range from sharks to penguins, and then as many fish as you can imagine in between. And as you're walking through the aquarium, it's just exhibit after exhibit of fish and sea life and so on. And we came across the Fishing Hall of Fame. And inside this room, it was lined with pictures of all the people that had been honored, or I guess inducted into the Fishing Hall of Fame. And it was sandwiched in between two fish exhibits. On one side, you have fish. On the next side, you guessed it, there's fish. So it's a room in between two rooms, and on the two outer rooms, there are fish. What really stood out to me, though, as we were going through that, my family and every other family that was kind of going through this aquarium at the same pace as us, we walked straight through it. And it hit me at that moment that our accolades don't really mean a lot unless they have an important why and they have a relationship and an impact behind them. Now, this isn't to make light of anything that these individuals did. I'm certain that congratulations are in order, right, for their skill, their craft that they spent so much time improving. There's likely a lot of conservation efforts that they were a part of as well. So I'm not making light of their accomplishments, but it was really funny and interesting to me that after seeing hours of fish, we bypassed that Hall of Fame to go see more fish. And it got me thinking, what are the things that we pursue as men that are important to us, that we think if we can just do this, we're going to be recognized or we will be remembered for this item, that ultimately has no impact? A lot of the things that we think are important to us and will kind of put us on the map, if you will, really don't matter a lot. They might matter to us, maybe to those that are very close to us, but more from a perspective of, oh, that's neat that you did that. It doesn't really mean anything in the end. So in this episode, I want to talk a little bit about how do we frame that up so we approach our pursuits from the right perspective. We got to focus on our why. The why behind all of our decisions is so important. And it's no different from the pursuits that we have as men. Our why is critical. Many of us have these pursuits, or maybe these quick little recognitions that mean something. And then we've seen, as the older we get, we see that actually fades pretty quickly. Kind of to be the most likely to appear on ESPN. Now, I was never super proud of that, but I do remember thinking, well, that's kind of cool. You know, it's a little bit of a recognition for my minimal athletic ability that I had. But I'll tell you, I'm sure nobody remembers the different accolades that we have in life. And to this day, I have still not been on ESPN. And at this point, the odds are pretty slim that will ever happen, barring me streaking across a sporting event or something. So I haven't completely ruled that out. So I guess there's still hope, but pretty good odds that that's not going to happen, right? So that recognition, if you will, that faded. Other awards that I received for athletics, who cares, right? Nobody cares. It means nothing today. I've never been in this position, but I know some of you, you are very good in the academic side of things. You maybe got some scholarships, you got recognition for that. Very likely that's faded, right? Maybe it's a recognition at work. You delivered on a project, you get recognized in front of the company for a job well done. A couple of years from now, nobody's going to remember that at all. Even if you are one of those that get your name on the wall at the corporate office, people walk past that. They will remember that for such a short amount of time, but then it just blends into the rest of the scenery. They're going to walk right past it. So I want to talk a little bit about how do we pursue things for the right reason and who will benefit from those. If we start with that why, first of all, our why should not be for any of the recognitions. It should not be for wealth. It should not be for fame. It should be for improving others, making the world around us better. That's where we get real depth and where we really start to see transformational change that goes well beyond ourselves. Now, as guys, I know that we really fall into two camps. On one hand, there's several of you that are probably on the brink of doing something that you have always wanted to do. You're this close, you can feel it, you're about to achieve success. I would encourage you in that camp to evaluate, is that success? If you make it, what's the long-term impact? Will anybody remember it? Maybe you get rich. Will anybody remember that? Will anybody get better from that? On the other hand, I know there's a lot of us, myself included, I fall into this camp a lot, where I start to incorrectly think that I can't do anything big enough to make an impact. I'm not going to do anything that people remember through the years. I'm never going to be super wealthy. For those in that camp, I would encourage you to embrace the small wins and to recognize that you do not need to do anything big to make a difference. So think through this. If we put ourselves in someone else's shoes, we know the obvious answer. When we look at all the people that have had impacts on our lives, they didn't have an impact on our lives because they busted their backsides to become super wealthy. If they did that, you might have had some fun with that. That's not why we care about those individuals. That's not what we remember. It's the people that have showed up in our lives consistently, even if they are in small ways. That's what we remember. They were intentional, they were consistent with us. It's those people that we remember. So why would we think that we have to do something even greater than that to be remembered by others? Chasing approval by people that we don't even know and trying to accomplish something so you will be remembered by people that you don't even know and have no connection to, it's a pretty wasted effort, to be quite honest. We need to focus in on those that are closest to us, that we have the most impact on. We have the best ability to impact them, both positively and negatively, but it's this core group that we can really pour into. And in that case, when we do that successfully, our legacy, the successes that we have, get viewed appropriately, and then those can truly have a generational impact and be remembered well beyond our time here on earth. So I encourage you to sort of flip the perception that we have from worldly success and really focus in on not the end state of how is it going to benefit me, but how is it going to benefit others? An interesting thought to think that our greatest impact could be felt generations down the line by people that we will never meet. But what an amazing thing it would be if, let's just say it's our great, 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 however many greats we want to go, grandkids say, hey, my grandfather, he made a decision that changed the trajectory of our family forever. He decided that his family is going to serve the Lord, and he put that as his top priority above all the worldly things. He put it above sports. He put it above his own hobbies and interests. And I'm not saying those are bad, but They can't be our first thing, right? First things first. Let it be said of us that we prioritize the spiritual well-being and growth in our families, and that changed the trajectory of our family. What an amazing thing that is. Maybe somebody will say about us, they broke the cycle of brokenness in our home. They said, we will not be the family that accepts divorce and separates the family that we've built. Maybe they will say about you, they stopped the cycle of poverty in our family. For the very first time, our family had a line that wasn't just eking by. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. There are legitimate situations where we are paycheck to paycheck, right? That happens. However, it should not be because we are wasteful or irresponsible in it. Maybe somebody will say that about you of, hey, my grandfather, he made a decision that while he didn't have much, he was going to be intentional and responsible to save a little bit back so that our family was never in that situation where we were at risk of losing everything, because he was intentional and he had that foresight to think through responsibly. Maybe you're not a parent, and that's great. You can still have a lasting impact. I want to tell you a story about a guy that has had a great influence on my life, both from a work perspective and personally. This individual at the time did not know that he was a mentor of mine. I have since told him how much I valued the teaching from him, even though he probably didn't think he was teaching, but he taught me so much about how to treat people. This individual was pretty well off. He was one of those smartest guys in every conversation. I loved how he approached things. I really admired him. He was a vendor for us, and I partnered a lot with his team. And there's always this kind of vendor-client relationship where you're sort of on the same team, but you're really not, because all the money involved and all the commitments that have to be made. But I always admired the way he showed up to these conversations. I learned so much from him because he was the smartest guy in the room, but I also learned from him because he was respectful to everyone. He spoke, people listened because he knew what he was doing. And in some cases, he had difficult conversations. He taught me a lot about how to say no, and no is the right answer. And I've since applied that to a lot of my leadership at work. And because of his influence that he had on me, I adopted a lot of that. And it's just sort of become this natural thing for me now. But the impact he had on me has now had 20 years of influence on the people that I've been fortunate enough to lead at work. And they don't even know that my approach to leading them is because of how this individual demonstrated how to lead to me. So as you are mentoring people, as you interact with them, if you're not in a leading capacity with them, don't sell yourself short. Your conviction, your values, how you approach life will make a really big difference for them, and they will see that there's something different about you and want to adopt that themselves. And you never know, maybe down the line, this will have an impact on others, and they might get asked, where did you learn this? Why are you that way? And they'll say, this guy that I used to know, I really admired his conviction. I admired his values and just the way that he approached life. And I've always wanted to live my life out the way that he did. If you look at the book of Titus in chapter 2, verse 7, it says, show yourself in all respects to be a model of good works, and in your teaching show integrity, dignity, and sound speech that cannot be condemned, so that an opponent may be put to shame, having nothing evil to say about us. In today's culture, that's not really welcomed, right? We want to have the last word. We want to be that guy. But what a great reminder for us that we can show ourselves in all respects to be a model of good works, showing integrity, dignity, and sound speech. So a couple things I want to leave you with, guys. Number one, I want to reiterate that our pursuits do not have to be these grand pursuits to really make a lasting impact. We need to set that mindset aside and really think about it from a couple different perspectives. One of the things I want you to think of, but I want you to go back as you are taking on new endeavors, you're looking at where your time is going, and you're trying to figure out, how can this be most successful? I want you to pause, and I recognize this is silly, but I want you to mentally think through, if I'm successful and I get my own exhibit and it's wedged in between two exhibits of fish, what do they want to see? Are they going to pause and look at the accomplishments that I had coming out of my endeavor, or are they simply going to bypass it? And is it going to pale in comparison to fish? I will just say, if it's going to pale in comparison to fish, you may want to rethink that as a priority. It's probably not the long-term success that you think it is. Be honest with yourself. Put that in perspective. I know that's silly, kind of a fun way for us to think through it. The other two things are really mindset changes that I want you to have. First, you should celebrate the consistent small wins. Our impact, the legacy that we leave, is not these one-off, quick hit, big win type things. Think about your own relationships. Those that are most important to you, those people that have had the most impact on your life. Was it because they were nice to you? They did something really good for you one time? Did they show up for you one time when you needed them? Or was it really a long period of time where they were consistent, showing up in small ways that really meant something to you and built that relationship? If we're being honest with ourselves, it's the latter, right? In the same way, we should approach our lives from that perspective. We don't need to do anything grand to make a difference. We don't need to do anything flashy or anything like that. We need to find those that we can influence the most and identify ways that we can consistently and intentionally celebrate the small wins by serving them. Which leads me to my last point. The other mindset shift that I want us to have is that we should celebrate serving others. Our why is so important in everything that we do in life. If our why is for wealth or for glory, recognition, whatever it may be, we're falling short. Our why needs to be to make the lives of those around us better and have a real impact on the world. That's a fruitful endeavor. We'll never fall short. And maybe somewhere down the road, they'll say, that guy, it's because of him that I am the way that I am. Guys, thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Look for content soon. Until then, let's get it, guys. Hey guys, real quick, just wanted to ask, if you have not already followed, please do so. This helps us get the message out to other men. You can do so by going to narrowgatecollective.org, where you can sign up for our newsletter. That will give you updates on events in the local area, as well as when content drops. You can also follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, X, and YouTube. All that information is in the show notes. Thank you so much, guys. Please consider following. And most importantly, let's get the message out to the other guys. We do not care about numbers, but we do care about impact. The more subscribers we have, the more this is shared, the more impact we can have. Thanks so much.